Good day, folks, and welcome to the Short Vol Show. You know, it's kind of funny. I was on a radio program last Friday, and my friend Andrew was explaining how my acronym is DEW, and it comes from this Grateful Dead song, which I had playing in the background here for a second. Here, this one, Morning Dew, and my friend Andrew is trying to explain in a very professional way of how that I was suited for that name back then, because I was all hippied out back in the 80s and 90s, I guess you could say. And most people would say the hippies were from the 60s, but I was a little bit behind the times on that one. Anyway, so here we are, and it is actually in the afternoon Monday, Short Vol Show, broadcasting live a little late today on Monday. This has to do with side jobs. You see, I work in, I'm broadcasting from Cape Cod, Massachusetts, and we are in high tourist season right now, and so my side jobs are kicking in big time. And so that's why I got to find time to broadcast when I can. And this weekend, I have a Tesla spread on, and Elon Musk was not being very helpful as far as the Tesla spread. I have a time calendar spread on, but it turns out it does have a little bit of a long delta, just a slight long delta. And so if you didn't hear, what happened with Elon Musk was that he's squabbling with these diver guys. It has to do with that cave that the kids are rescued from in Thailand. And one of the divers who was instrumental in getting the kids rescued came on CNN, and he said that Elon Musk's idea of using a small submarine to help the kids out would never have worked. And Elon Musk got mad at that comment, and so he basically called the diver a pedophile with no real evidence of this. And so that understandably razzled some investors and others, and is the given reason that Tesla has taken a little bit of a hit today. It's down, I believe, like 3%, trading 308 right now, is it? And so, yeah, it's down $10, trading 308. And so my slightly long delta has gone against me. When you've got a $300 stock, if it says like a little down move becomes $10 down. And so, too bad for me. But my spread's going to be on for a while, and it shows me collecting a good amount of decay per day. So my decay should eat up any delta move over the next couple of days, so I'm not too worried about that one. In VIX land, we are, and you can see my skin's a little bit red from the sun. VIX up 43 cents today, with the Nasdaq down, just down a teeny bit. The Dow kind of unched. Market's basically kind of unched. And, you know, VIX, this is kind of like weekend effect stuff mixed with the markets being down just a little bit. But as we head into expiration coming up in the next day or two, we do find the futures in pretty steep contango. And this, even though this is only going to last for a day or two until we switch to the next month futures, this does count, folks. This roll is affecting, it is decaying UVXY, and this all does count towards average contango and average amount of value being reduced in UVXY. So if we do pull up VIX Central here, we will see, and I'm going to make sure that I'm not completely blocking this, which I pretty much am right now. Let me make myself a lot smaller here. Okay, so we are over 10% contango right now in the front month. Now, remember, we're going to switch to the second to third month relationship coming up soon, and that one being right now 4.3%. But for now, this does count because the roll is going on between the first 2 month futures, so that 10.6% is significant and does count towards decaying this as we move towards a new all-time low in UVXY. Now, TVIX did get its all-time low on Friday. TVIX, as you remember, was not deleveraged or nerfed, as some people like to call it. You know how like a Nerf toy, like a Nerf gun, it doesn't hurt you when the bullets shoot you, when you shoot bullets with it, because everything's so soft. Well, thus we get the term nerfed when they make something much less powerful than it was before. It's used a lot in like video games, and it's used a lot in my Star Citizen video game, where they make certain spaceships less powerful against others, or certain guns, to kind of rebalance the game. Well, UVXY, as you remember, in February went down to 1.5 times the futures, whereas TVIX stayed at that 2 times the futures. So thus TVIX was able to obtain an all-time low again, whereas UVXY were still like a little under $1 off the all-time low. So it's coming. It's coming. It's just hasn't gotten there quite yet. Please stay tuned. I should have it ready by tomorrow. The interview I did with Adam from the Balance of Trade, that is a pseudonym which he uses on Seeking Alpha to release 2 to 3 bulletins a week. I would recommend checking that out for VIX bulletins. He scours the internet to find interesting content, and adds his own analysis as well. And I will be including at least parts of the interview tomorrow. Check that out. We talk about tariffs, and I usually don't. I usually try to steer clear completely of politics and things like that, but we kind of break that rule, and we do sort of debate tariffs, the Trump administration's policies overseas, and actual trade imbalance, and what is a trade imbalance bad, necessarily bad between two countries, and is the particular trade imbalance between China and the United States, is that bad for the U.S.? And I think you'll be surprised by our conclusions. Those of you who follow me closely will be even more surprised by our conclusions as to the policies of the Trump administration so far. And Adam took a moment, and we diverged from normal topics of like the term structure and volatility to talk more macro about the economy, which is kind of interesting. He was thinking that most of my guests talk about the specific VIX and the term structure, and so he would talk about something different. Adam has an expertise in portfolio management as well, so he brings portfolio management terms and ideas into the mix, which is always interesting. So like I said, I still haven't edited that interview all together yet, but that's coming up soon. And also coming up soon this week, I have another interesting voice on, a person who is active in training people to trade options, and who has a ton of experience himself. So it'll be interesting having him on later in the week. I'm not going to announce who it is quite yet, but stay tuned this week for that. There's a lot going on in the background here for interviews coming up. I've got a bunch of people scheduled to come in and talk, so it's going to be an exciting August into September. A lot of people had agreed to come on, but they wanted to wait till the end of the summer, and so they're all getting lined up now, so that's going to be very exciting. So stay tuned to the Short Vol show. This is the first broadcast after I appeared on Options Insider Radio, so wanted to talk about that for a second. Mark Longo is, he's such a pro, and he's got that silky smooth like radio voice, and I thought that a lot of what he was saying was like pre-taped or something, but that's all him in real time, and he does this stuff with his voice which I could never achieve. So it's very fun experiencing that live and being a part of it. So thank you, Mark, for including me in the show. Andrew was there also, which was fun. It's pretty neat after all this time that to still be hanging out with Andrew, because he was there from the beginning with me in the mid 90s in Chicago. So that's interesting that we're still interacting with each other. Yeah, so anyways, so Tesla, as I said today, now down 1150 to 307. I have a SEP AUG 325 call calendar spread on, and against it, I do have like emergency level puts against it a little bit, because it's a slightly long delta. But so if like Tesla were to like totally crash, I did protect myself by just buying a few puts against it a few weeks out. And so it's a relatively, there's not a whole lot of risk on this position, but it's just something that I was trying out to see how it worked, because, my Greeks show me collecting a decent amount per day. And although the position does get me long a decent amount of Vega, and I'm going to hold it up to earnings, and I still haven't decided if I'm going to hold it through earnings, because the calls are August 10 and earnings is on the 1st of August. So they've still got some time after earnings to collapse. But it's just a question. I need to look closely at the volatility and the vol in the past and see if I want to hold it through earnings or not. I found a new guy who does options stuff who's pretty interesting. I found him through this Facebook group called Vertical Spreads. I guess it's like Vertical Spread, something like that. Let me try to find the YouTube channel for you. But yeah, Vertical Spread Options Trading. So let's pull up the YouTube channel here real quick. So this is what the YouTube channel, and he puts out a video like once a week, maybe something like that, maybe slightly less, but really well-produced videos, fascinating stuff that he covers. I would say it's a sort of intermediate level options, beginner to intermediate level options stuff on there. But he, I learned about this website he was talking about, cmlviz.com. And what they do is they backtest. They just have like a bunch of basic earnings options plays in different stocks. And they sort of back test them through a lot of different earnings. So like, let's say you're into Apple, you can type Apple in, and then it will have a bunch of different possible options trades, and it will tell like, oh, with this one, people put it on the last 10 earnings, and 8 out of 10 times it made money, and this is your downside, et cetera, et cetera. And I thought it was really interesting. Now, this website is a pay website, so I haven't learned any more about it other than watching the videos, but cmlviz.com. So check out Vertical Spreads Options Trading YouTube channel, because this guy was pretty interesting. I thought that stuff was great. I would love to get in there and look at it and see what it has for Tesla for earnings plays. So check that out. I'm going to try to interview this guy too. I reach out on Facebook. I reach out to try to make sort of strategic alliances with other Facebook groups to kind of extend the Facebook group. I want to have a big group so that we just have a lot of eyeballs on us. I think that would be really fun. I want to congratulate Sam Squatch from our StockTwits group for winning the Friday pin bet. We have a informal contest every week where we all guess where UVXY will close, and you have to do it within the same day or like within 24 hours of when of Friday. But there's a whole group of us. There's so many, I think, now that we can't fit them all in one stock twit thing, all of our names. But I said I would announce the winner every week, so it was Sam Squatch this week who won it. I would recommend following him on stock twits. He's a great trader in UVXY options, although he takes a lot of risks sometimes. So it's not for every his way of trading is not for everybody, but he knows himself, and he's really good at doing it. And interesting guy. He's been known to post a screenshot of his positions and of his P&L, which is I always find it fascinating looking at people's like P&Ls and stuff. Anyways, so congrats to Sam Squatch, and we'll see who wins this next week. Before him, the winner was DB, and so on and so forth backwards in time. So we'll see who wins this next week, of course. I'm trying to pull up the past winner before DB just so I can announce that. But you know who was the winner. So it was you know who, then DB, then Sam Squatch. So congratulations to all the winners, and we'll see who wins this week. I don't think I've ever won this thing before, and we've been playing it for like a long time. So meanwhile, in MJ stock news, let's take a look. And MJ stock's down today. Canopy Growth down $1. Afria down 48 cents. And ACB also down. Let's see if there's any news stories on that as to why. And it looks like nothing really major. Let's take a look at investing.com for a second. It says Wall Street flat as oil slump offsets earnings optimism. Yeah, so we are coming into earnings for everything, and that's kind of going to drive everything for a little while here. Let's take a look at Drudge Report. See what sort of news we have. So Donald Trump and Vladimir Putin are in Helsinki right now. And it says Trump hails deeply productive talks with Putin as Russian leader admits he wanted Donald to win the U.S. election. So I guess it's a love fest. Somebody was saying that Donald Trump insisted that he meet alone in the room with Putin. So it would just be Donald Trump, Putin, and the two translators in the room. And so we probably will never know completely what happens in the room when these two guys meet. I'm sure each guy will say one thing, and but we'll never totally know probably what happens. Anyway, that's big in the news today. Jeff Bezos' net worth exceeds $150 billion. Wow. And let's see. Madonna at 60. National Guard deployment led to 10,000 arrests of illegals. Trump approval, 45%. And so as it goes on a Monday. Let's take a look at our two stocks that we've been following. IQ. And IQ up another couple bucks today. That thing really on a tear. And then let's take a look at Acorn. And Acorn down another day, down about $1. as things go. So Acorn, I was talking with this guy online Friday who was saying, well, there's a big announcement coming Friday about this court case, and that's going to decide everything. It's going to rip one way or the other. Well, it's Monday and hasn't really ripped anywhere. It's just kind of leaked down. So I guess that wasn't actually true. And so UVXY down 14 cents right now, 9.47, as the VIX up a little bit. And that makes sense because what's happening is that spot has moved up to converge with the futures, and the futures have just moved down a teeny bit. So UVXY is doing what the futures do. Remember, UVXY is based on an average of 2 futures. It isn't based directly on the VIX, and so VIX up doesn't mean UVXY necessarily up. And you can see futures down. We're mostly based on the second month future now. So the second month future is down 7 cents or 10 cents. So it makes sense. UVXY down about 1.5 times that, 14 cents. So that makes sense. People will look at the VIX and they'll say VIX up. Oh, UVXY is being manipulated. Well, no, because UVXY is based on the futures. And anytime you take a weighted average of the 2 futures and you compare it and you multiply that by 1.5, it will be where UVXY's price is, almost exactly. Now, that sometimes stuff closes weird and things like that, but the people that are saying it's manipulated, they don't understand how this trades. UVXY is based on the futures, and it's based on a mix of 2 futures. Right now, we're right before expiration, which means the second future pretty much totally is UVXY. So if you see the second future down 7 cents right now, that means UVXY should be down 1.5 times 7 cents. So it should be down about 10 cents. And it shows UVXY down 13 cents right now. So within 3 cents of there is definitely margin of error based on closes and things like that. When I say closes and things like that, what I mean is different data feeds mistakenly all the time will mark UVXY, the UVXY's closing price at 4 o'clock, when indeed the futures actually close at 4:15, and they don't necessarily close at 4:15. They close sometime after 4:15 is when they finally get closed. So that messes stuff up by a few pennies every day, but it all comes back in the wash. If it's down by 2 cents one day, it'll be up by 2 cents the next day, and so on and so forth. That's what that is. So when you see people saying VIX is manipulated, VIX is manipulated, you can tell them UVXY is not based on the VIX, it's based on the VIX futures. Let's take a look at stock twits for a second and see if we've got some interesting twits on there, as you might call it. So here we go. Market will crash someday. The market can fail to crash longer than you can stay solvent, long built-in decay asset. Yes, very true. Post-bio. Oh, Post-bio and Bio-baby posting right next to each other. The two guys that I sometimes get confused. So this Nostradamus guy is like one of these guys that he's sort of a troll that people don't seem to like that much on there. Here's a guy, manipulation. And not too much interesting right now. Never Vixers. Not sure what that means. So, yeah, so there you have it. My voice is getting hoarse. It's been a long day already. Stuff has been really busy with side jobs and whatnot. And Tesla's down 1150, so that's not so great for me. So we'll see if UVXY can break 9 and get to an all-time low this week. or next week. I'm interested to see your bets on when we will break the all-time low. So put them in the description below when you think we'll beat the all-time low. All-time low, I think, being 856. It's like 190 days ago. So let's see. UVXY. Uh, 852. So we're within a point of it. So it could happen anytime now. Exciting when that does happen. Anyway, thanks for watching today. It was a little late, but that's okay. And I'm going to work on getting that interview together for you. And we'll broadcast that probably right after the show tomorrow. So stay tuned for that. I really appreciate your support and that you watch this show. And talk to you soon.